As a subject, mahou shoujo is in my opinion one of the most misunderstood and yet widely adopted genres in anime. Being a regular fan, you know about its presence like that of Super Robot and Battle Shonen, and you have no insight into its role as one of the eldest genres on the scene. Many viewers simply don't find interest in watching a feminine, almost voyeuristic take on dramatized childhood adolescence, which is totally fine. However, when it comes to analyzing such genre-steep shows like that of Sailor Moon or Little Witch Academia, those without the wide understanding for which their structures are based can make unfair or miscalculated conclusions to what those stories communicate. This is the exact quandary that Madoka Magica poses for such analysis and why I don't consider it a deconstruction of the magical girl genre. Mahou shoujo or magical girl is a term assumedly coined by the Mitsuteru Yokoyama and Fujio Okatsuka, creators of Mahotsukai Sally and Himitsu no Ako-chan, first of the genre benchmarking its creation in the early 60s. The genre has many subsets, but for the sake of your time we're going to focus on the most popular and prolific of the magical girl subgenres, magical warrior. There are some key components that make a show magical warrior as seen on my infograph. It is of note that while a transformation is a must for this subgenre, the other factors can be all present or sparsely. In Cardcaptor Sakura, for instance, the main character, Sakura Kinomoto, doesn't traditionally transform but rather changes her clothes. However, she still uses a magical item as accompanied by Karo and works towards a goal that threatens the lives of those around her and her way of life. Along with those structural linchpins, magical warrior-centric shows are known for the glamorous, long-winded transformation sequences, teenage leads, handsome love interests, revealing outfits, and normalized use of cute, bright, and feminine iconography. On the subject of how Madoka supposedly deconstructs these shoujo conventions common to the genre, with its dark tone and despair and death, it simply doesn't work, because modifying elements of a genre and subverting audience expectations doesn't mean you're critically taking apart the framework. But you must be asking by now, well Mirage, if twisting elements of a genre isn't deconstruction, then what is? Jacques Derrida was an accomplished French philosopher of the early 20th century. You can see his fingerprints all over, influencing how we study subjects embroiled in the arts and social sciences. He found that the meaning many authors and scholars claimed to see in stories were inherently arbitrary or transient. Generally speaking, Derrida's theory of deconstruction deals with the mental form in which meaning takes form. Although we perceive meaning in a text such as, let's say, Evangelion or Welcome to the NHK, such meaning isn't structurally sound. A lot of deconstructive analysis focuses on the words and language you use in describing, communicating those thoughts and how they are, in their own forms, failures. Tim Nance has a fantastic video on explaining in layman's terms what the act of deconstruction is. I highly suggest you pop over and listen to his video. For now, I will simply relay that of his points on the process of which someone deconstructs a text through a hypothetical. Hamiru is chasing Kyubei down a corridor. Cornering the demon rat creature, she pulls a gun from her shield. Before Homura can muster the greatest of head tilts, Kyubei yells, "Homura, no matter what you do, magical girls and their wishes cannot exist without the creation of witches and their curses." However, Hamiru, being the dimension-skipping cynic we all know and love, doubts this, arguing that you can't know the intent to which causality occurs in incubator. You may think that being a magical girl ultimately means being a witch, but you can't know that for sure because hope is not guaranteed to falter to despair. Kyubei asserts to Homura that it is impossible for witches and magical girls to not exist together through the cycle of entropy, forwarding their meaning and the knowledge perceived. Homura then identifies the tensions of such a statement and their unity. She understands that Kyubei believes the two to be omnipresent, however questions if it's necessarily true, stating that hope doesn't need despair. By deconstructing the tensions, the structure of Kyubei's statement falls apart and loses its meaning. When I refer to Madoka as not being a deconstruction, it's as a genre deconstruction. Instead of words, we cut down to a set of trappings and conventions that cement the subject and go about playing those elements as they would in the real world, then commenting on the genre as a whole. While undoubtedly Madoka uses the ingredients of mahou shoujo, it doesn't necessarily comment on the way in which those trappings are when deconstructed. Rather, it simply changes the shades of pink and white to purples and blacks. It points out that the form the genre is known for is problematic and pushes the shapes of events to a far darker place. But it doesn't take that point any further than that, focusing rather on its themes of selfishness versus selflessness. In the case of deconstructing the genre, what conversation does that start? If it was as deconstructive as people claim, Madoka would have elaborated more on, let's say, its themes of utilitarianism through Kyubei, or feminism regarding the witches as a whole. Madoka has a female cast, a mascot character, transformation items and weapons, a cosmic bad, and trucks full of cute fairy tale imagery, paired with its stark depictions of despair and death. It's not an outlier for its themes, but rather the boundaries it's willing to push them. I think this issue is less of a problem with the show, more of its fan base. Madoka isn't deconstructive, it's subversive, turning the expectations of common viewers upside down. When ads started popping up on social media in 2011, not many people were expecting anything other than that of the standard fare. They were fairly innocuous, toting typical character slates and a new Clara song. Nobody seemed to care that much outside of magical girl trash like myself. Then when fans of the genre saw the cool direction the show was heading as it aired, they shared it with others. Eventually, a swath of people came to sing Madoka's praises. But as the internet is when communities start coming together to dissect the show, somebody threw the word deconstruction in the mix and now we're here. One thing people bring up in defense of the deconstructive argument is that Madoka features a collection of irrevocable character deaths, not recouped by the power of friendship. And while this is technically true, I don't understand what makes this qualify as deconstructive. Many of the deaths in Madoka end up being just as friendship-fueled, and arguably less meaningful in context of the multiple universe dilemma. For better or worse, you get it, but you still may be asking, what's the problem with Madoka being considered a deconstruction in the first place? This is a rather daunting question because while it seems to be a non-issue, it affects not only the way we perceive deconstructions, but that of the show's title as such. I've got to be really honest here. I want more people to get into magical girl-centric anime, but those who label Madoka as superior to that of its predecessors stop potential fans from being created. Believe it or not, Mahou Shoujo is a much more flexible genre than it looks, capable of tackling difficult themes like that of abuse, love, identity, and growing up. Saying Madoka is contrary to the genre as a whole rather than being a darker take greatly limits what magical girl as a concept is able to be. It harmfully obscures the shows that have celebrated and deconstructed the genre while simultaneously denouncing the messages they convey as frivolous, girly redundancy. And that's the last thing Mahou Shoujo is. And so, that's what I had to say on Madoka. If you liked listening to my voice, I would love if you subscribed. I have many more magical girl related topics I'd love to cover in the near future. If you can't tell, this is my first time making a video, so if anything, you're welcome to leave feedback at the email listed. Until next time, bye bye!